Samsung's next flagship release, the Galaxy S26, could mark a turning point for the company's in-house Exynos processors. It's not just another launch. It's a critical moment that may determine whether Exynos becomes a long-term rival to Snapdragon or fades further into the background. With the Galaxy S26 series, Samsung is gambling big on its custom silicon once again after a rocky few years. For the Galaxy S26 and the S26 Plus, Samsung plans to split the lineup between two chipsets, the Exynos 2600 in select markets and the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2 in others. This isn't new. Samsung has often done this regional chip split, but what makes this time different is the pressure riding on Exynos. After completely skipping the Exynos 2500 and the Galaxy S25 series due to development delays and manufacturing issues, Samsung now seems determined to bring the Exynos 2600 to market. The chip is built on Samsung Foundry's new 2nm process, which the company rushed to develop after stabilizing its 3nm node in 2024. Getting to this point hasn't been easy. The Foundry side of Samsung has faced multiple setbacks, nearly leading to doubts about its future. The S26 series is supposed to show the world that Samsung is back on track, but there's a catch. The Galaxy S26 Ultra, the highest-end device in the lineup, reportedly won't include the Exynos 2600 at all. No matter the region, this device is expected to stick with the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2. This isn't the first time Samsung has done this. The Galaxy S24 Ultra also excluded Exynos, likely in an effort to ensure consistent performance across all units, and that decision speaks volumes. If the Exynos 2600 was truly ready to compete, Samsung would have no reason to leave it out of the Ultra. The fact that it's not included suggests that Samsung itself may not fully trust the chip to deliver flagship-tier performance at the very top level. Industry whispers even hint that Samsung's 2nm process isn't quite matching up to TSMC's older 3nm nodes, at least in real-world performance and efficiency. This leads to a critical question. Does the average consumer even care? The truth is, most users won't notice minor differences in benchmarks or efficiency, but the tech-savvy crowd will, and that crowd shapes public perception. If the Exynos 2600 continues the trend of heating issues, lower battery efficiency, or slightly weaker performance scores, it will only reinforce the negative reputation Exynos already has among enthusiasts. Samsung has poured immense resources into bringing Exynos back. There was a point when Samsung Foundry was being written off, with rumors suggesting it could be shut down altogether. But the company doubled down, pushing forward with innovation in hopes of catching up with or surpassing TSMC. The Exynos 2600 is a culmination of that effort. There's a bigger picture at play here. Apple has successfully moved away from Qualcomm, with its own custom chips. Samsung wants to do the same, and not just for its phones, but potentially across its ecosystem of products. A strong, competitive Exynos chip is a major piece of that vision. For that dream to move forward, the Exynos 2600 must deliver not just passable performance, but genuinely competitive results. It needs to overcome its predecessor's flaws and start changing public opinion. People need to stop cringing when they hear the word Exynos and start seeing it as a worthy rival to Snapdragon. But that's going to take more than just numbers on a spec sheet. It's going to take real-world performance, stability, efficiency, and consistent results across regions. If the Galaxy S26 lineup shows parity between the Exynos and Snapdragon versions, then Samsung could finally be on the verge of a new era, one where it isn't dependent on Qualcomm. If not, Samsung risks a huge blow to its Foundry ambitions. Exynos won't be scrapped entirely. Qualcomm chips are expensive, and Samsung needs a backup plan. But future investments and public trust would definitely take a hit. At the end of the day, consumers don't want to pay the same price for what feels like an inferior product, even if the differences are minor or mostly technical. The burden is on Exynos to prove that it's not just good enough, but worth trusting again. The Galaxy S26 will be the proving ground. If the Exynos 2600 succeeds, it could usher in a golden age for Samsung's chip division. If it stumbles, it may confirm the skepticism that's followed Exynos for years. The stakes couldn't be higher.